Hey kids, this has become my gym during COVID. I couldn't go to the gym anymore, but I still wanted to exercise. So exercise is super important. Why? Because as a species, we spend 200,000 years moving and exercising. And our bodies are healthier when they move, and our minds are adapted to be in a body that's on the move. So I wanted to put together a video that brings together science and exercise science. In this video, we'll look at what's a simple way to figure out if you're fit. Number two, what is the science of metabolism? How does your body process energy? And number three, how can you get more fit? And then if you want to be an elite athlete, what is anaerobic threshold, and how can you use HIIT training to become an elite athlete? So if you're interested in exercise science as a career, or maybe you just want to get fit, this is the video for you. Let's do it. Let's bring science and exercise together. So how can we tell how fit we are? Well, resting heart rate, the average resting heart rate is between 60 and 100. The lower your resting heart rate, the better. Why? Because that shows that your heart is really efficient. The lower it is, the more efficient it is at pumping out blood. So you can purchase a heart rate tracker. Some of them have a chest band. These tend to be the most accurate. Or you can wear the ones on your wrists, which are a little less accurate. A more accurate fitness test involves starting with your maximum heart rate, which is 220 minus your age. Whatever that number is the maximum number you should take your heart rate up to. Then exercise in such a way that you get up to like 80 or 85% of that number. And then you won't be able to sustain that for very long. So you get up there, you're exhausted, and then you see how many beats your heart drops in 1 minute. That is one of the most accurate predictors of your fitness.
You are burning fat.
So here's what the readout looks like for my Polar H10. We can see my heart rate's hovering in the 100 and teens. So what I'm going to do is I'll ride up the hill, and then I'll check my heart rate, and I'll see how many beats it drops in 1 minute. So that's your fitness test that you can do. Okay, 156. Okay, 123. So 156 minus 123 is my recovery rate. That's how you check your fitness. If it drops 15 to 20-ish, then you're in average shape. If it drops 25 to 30-ish, then you're in good shape. And if you start getting up into the upper 40s to 60s, you're in excellent shape. And that drop in heart rate is one of the best predictors of your future health, but you can change that based on your exercise. So I'm here at Lifetime Fitness to show you how biology relates to exercise. So I'm going to have an AT test done. AT stands for anaerobic threshold. So we're going to try to find out by analyzing my carbon dioxide and oxygen at what point my body gets pushed into anaerobic respiration. The reason that's valuable is because once that happens and lactic acid builds up, then you become much less efficient at your exercise. So it's a valuable thing to figure out.
So now we're going to start off. Go ahead and start pedaling. All right. We're going to start. Start. We're going to bring this up to level. Okay. So.
So my anaerobic threshold test that I had done at Lifetime Fitness showed that my anaerobic threshold is at 147. What does that mean? It means at 147 beats per minute, I begin to go above that level. I am not getting enough oxygen for my muscles because I'm exercising so hard. So what that means is I begin to develop, as you know, lactic acid, the burn. And of course, you can't sustain exercise very long when you have the burn. So, for that reason, elite athletes can find that anaerobic threshold and stay just under it. Like if you're a long distance runner or a cyclist or a swimmer, if you can stay just under that anaerobic threshold, you are exercising at maximum performance without burning out. So what I'm doing right here is aerobic exercise. So what does that mean? I'm taking in enough oxygen to process the glucose. The final outcome, carbon dioxide, water vapor, carbon dioxide coming out my mouth, and the glucose is being converted to, you know, ATP. Now if I go anaerobic, not taking in enough oxygen to process all that glucose. So what begins to happen is my body begins to break down the glucose without the help of oxygen, which leads to lactic acid, right? And the lactic acid has to be dissipated from my muscle cells. If it builds up, oh, you're going to feel that as the burn. But you can actually raise the anaerobic threshold by doing HIIT training. HIIT stands for high intensity interval training. So what you do is you take your heart rate above that anaerobic threshold to the place where you can't exercise anymore, and of course you should never go beyond your maximum heart rate, 220 minus your age, and then you let your heart rate come back down. And then you push it up through that anaerobic threshold, and you keep going up and down. But by doing that high intensity interval training, you push that anaerobic threshold higher so that you can exercise at peak performance at a higher level. So I'm at Keener Park, so let's see if we can apply what I learned at Lifetime Fitness. Oh, HIIT training. It's no fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, they say in the literature, HIIT training, it's pretty much torture, but it's what elite athletes do to improve. So what about if you want to lose weight? So what we know about burning fuel during exercise is that when you first start exercising, your body uses carbs because carbs are really easy, they're accessible, and they're easy to burn. But your body prefers to burn fat because fat has 9 calories per gram as opposed to 4 calories per gram in carbs. So it's packed with energy. So as you begin to exercise, your brain sends signals to your fat cells to release fatty acids into your blood. And then they make their way to your muscles and you begin to break that energy down. But that takes time. So basically, as you continue to exercise, fat begins to be added as a fuel to the carbs. Now, as your heart rate rises, if you hit that anaerobic threshold, and you shouldn't spend more than 20% of your exercise time in that anaerobic threshold. But as you hit that, you don't have enough oxygen. You have to have oxygen to burn fat. You do not have to have oxygen to burn carbs. So the fat falls away. Well, what most people think is, oh, I want to be in fat burning mode, so their exercise level tends to be lower. But you have to realize that the harder you exercise, the more calories you burn, and that's the bottom line of losing weight. You have to burn calories. So if you can sustain exercise at a higher level, you're actually going to lose more weight. And then if you include weightlifting, the beauty of weightlifting is you begin to build muscle mass, and muscle burns more calories than fat by far, fat cells. So if you can start to replace fat with muscle, then that you actually begin to gain a little bit of weight because muscle weighs more, but in the end you'll be metabolizing calories more. As a result, you'll be metabolizing calories more as a result of having more muscle in your body. So what if you don't like exercise? Well, I'd encourage you to do something. Walking is actually good. You might say walking is boring. Walk with a friend, or maybe take your dog for a walk. Instead of like texting your friend while you're sitting down, go for a walk and text them while you're walking. Just do something to get the body moving. Because remember, you can release those feel-good chemicals by exercising. Also, exercise releases chemicals that are like fertilizer for your neurons in your brain. And for some people, exercise is just as efficient as antidepressants and anti-anxiety medicine for some people. But as always, make sure you check with your doctor before you get into exercise, and always build up gradually. So I'm doing a side plank. So this is a type of exercise called anaerobic, because you can't do this for very long. So I'm using up a lot of oxygen in my obliques, the muscles that hold me up here, that I'm going to begin to go into oxygen debt. I'm going to feel it as the burn. Okay? So anaerobic you can't do for very long. And that brings us to the annual Anaerobic Wall Sit Lactic Acid Challenge. Yes, I'm going to do a wall sit. If you can do a wall sit till I feel lactic acid, you get bonus points. If you can do it as long as I can do it, you get even more points. But you have to get permission from your parents just in case your legs break off. And then if you want even more extra credit, find out the science behind it, document your sources, and describe the science of anaerobic exercise, the burn. And there's something to be said for making yourself just a little bit uncomfortable, because you got to do that to stay in shape so that your body's healthy and your mind's healthy.